Ignition liftoff. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Today I'm joined by Victoria Jenkins, award-winning designer and disability advocate behind the groundbreaking adaptive fashion brand Unhidden. Victoria is challenging what the fashion industry looks like and who it includes. She's turned her own health journey into a global mission to make sure style is accessible for everybody. And she's not stopping anytime soon. So let's find out why she's a lady who launched. Right, before we get into it, if you like this episode, which I know you're going to, please don't forget to like and subscribe and to share it to your group chat. Well, thanks for coming in. I'm so excited to sit down and talk to you properly because we've hung out at events,
yes,
but we sort of never get that space to actually have a one-on-one chat. So I'm really, really excited to talk to you. My favourite place to always start these interviews or conversations, what should I say, is always going back to earlier life because I just really think, and it's actually started by an accident, but actually as I've gone on and sat down and spoken to lots of different women, our earlier years really shape us, and you kind of realise that later on, and it's not until you sit down and talk about it. So for those that may not know, can you take us back to where it all began, to where it all started?
Work or life?
Everything, life.
Life, gosh, I'm from a really small village in Oxfordshire, like literally 125 houses.
Oh, God, that's my dream, by the way.
It was.
In
it
older
was,
life, that's my dream.
Yeah. And, we just had a pub. That was it. And I'm one of 6 kids. So, and there was quite a lot. There's actually quite a good range of kids in the village as well. And because I had such a big family, we had a minibus that... literally like the Von Trapp.
That's the gag that me and my husband have with each other, where he's like, we can't have any more, we're going to need a minibus.
Yeah, no, we had a minibus.
Love it.
And then we used to take all the other kids to school with us as well. So it was quite sweet. And I left to go to uni when I was 19. So I've lived in London now for 21 years.
Wow.
So that's gone scarily fast. But
and living sort of somewhere in quite a small village where I suppose everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
Was that quite a bold thing to do, to sort of like separate yourself from that village and head to the big smoke?
Yes. I mean, I was always quite arty. Mm-hmm. So I was always drawing things and everyone kind of knew that I wanted to do fashion. But yeah, going from that to Whitechapel in 2003.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's quite a wake-up call, isn't it?
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
And actually, as soon as I got into the flat where I was staying, I went to get a job in a pub so that I had some money, literally over the road. And it was the pub next to the Blind Beggar, where the Cray twins have all their...
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Yeah. And I only did 3 shifts, and the landlady was like, I can't keep you safe. So, sorry. I had to go. And I literally, I think on the second shift, like this old gentleman came in and was offered me a drink. I was like, no, not while I'm working. And then somebody else was like, you don't turn this man down. I was like, why? He's a sweet old man.
I'm not from here.
Yeah. And then they started having a fight. And then I kind of just dug down and did a big Peggy Mitchell, oi!
Get out of my pub!
I was like, please stop. No, that's not working. Oi! And that's the only way I could do it.
And this is how it's going to work
Exactly, yeah. But it was a culture shock. And I found actually every time I went home for the summer, I'd get back used to village life and then it would sort of be scared again to come back to London. It was interesting.
Yeah. And I suppose it's those home comforts, but equally it's quite a bold thing to not conform. Like when you're from a smaller village, and it's kind of, I suppose, everyone's a little bit routine, and you go to the pub and you work at the same sort of place, and you might maybe head in to Oxford town, or to be the one that's like, no, I'm going to be the go-getter and I'm going to go out and chase my dreams is quite a bold move.
Yeah, I suppose I hadn't really thought about it that way, but it was quite freeing, but it was then kind of like, used to having loads of people around me to then it's just me. Yes. So I was having to like work out, well, what do I actually want my home life to look like? I got into cooking quite a bit, and I realised actually I used to watch loads of soaps because it felt familiar, so I just have the TV on as background noise, but it was literally I'd do like Doctors, EastEnders, Coronation Street, everything. And then I'd watch, films and actual current TV. But that was, it was a TV, DVD, video combo.
Oh, okay.
It was a long time ago. Yeah. So, but and Whitechapel has changed not that much compared to everywhere else. But where I went to uni was in Spitalfields, and that has changed massively. You know, I used to go there when it was really sort of grimy old food stores, and they were amazing, and it's a bit clinically clean now. So I did prefer it then. But yeah, it's to see London has changed so much. Like even Brixton, when I first moved, Brixton was terrifying.
Yeah.
Not as much anymore.
It's so true. And I remember like our family are from East, and I remember like where our family are from, it was always like, get out of East because it's, you know, it was deemed a little bit dangerous, and moved to Essex, and that was kind of like, you've made it if you could make that move. And now I'm like, guys, why did you all move out of East? Like you had these incredible homes that now would have been, you know, would have been an amazing place to live. And I remember it was always like, East is up and coming, but it's definitely up now. You know, it's for sure up, and I love it. There's that buzz of East London.
There is. It's really
a little
exciting.
bit unmatched, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you take this bold move. You're in Whitechapel, you're at uni in Spitalfields, and how does that period of time look? So you go to uni to study fashion? Yeah,
to fashion design at an Italian sort of, it's the Italian equivalent to London College of Fashion, CSM, but they've got one in Paris, Mumbai, Miami. It's called Istituto Marangoni, if I say it in Italian accent.
Wow, that was impressive.
It's actually, I've had some events there. It's where my show's going to be in September.
Incredible.
But yeah, it was, because they're quite, I mean, it's good. They're very intense. So we did, you know, brand analysis, digital design, illustration, history of art, history of costume. And we had exams like every 2 weeks, and your attendance counted from the first day.
Wow.
So, and that you'd get either kicked out or people, I mean, a lot of people left. I think the first year there was 140 of us, and by the time I graduated, there was 40 of us.
Goodness me. Okay. So it's quite high pressure.
Yes.
Quite
so
intense.
there wasn't a lot of fun to be had, because it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of, and I was, you know, a bit of a over-eager beaver. So I think I handed in my homework early once, and I was sure it was that day, and then everyone else groaned and was like, it's tomorrow.
Of course.
And I was like, oh, no.
But it's kind of, it's interesting, because that's obviously your passion was obviously very recognisable, even at that point.
Yes, yeah.
And what was it about it that you what was it that you loved? What was it that you thought, this is for me?
I think I was always very passionate about drawing and illustrating design for real people. So I actually got in trouble for using models that I illustrate models not to the tiny, like little thin ones. I'm like, you can't see what I've done. So I drew them bigger, and I did get told off for drawing fat models.
Stop.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how?
Yeah, and I was like, but you can't see the detail if the waist is like the width of my finger on a drawing, you know, and especially when you're in a professional space. How is a pattern cutter going to understand that? How's anyone going to translate it if you're not drawing like on a real body? And then you don't know what it looks like on a real body either.
But then I think that says a lot to that period of time, that those in that space, a real body did probably reflect those tiny.
Yeah, I think for me, I was like, why are you really saying this out loud?
Yes.
And I remember actually in the village where I grew up, I remember a next door neighbour, I thought she looked amazing. I remember she had this hot pink fluffy jumper on, but I remember her saying, oh no, I don't like my body. And I remember looking, thinking, you're so beautiful. Why don't you think you are? And I would have been 10. But I always, for that, I was like, well, if you don't like it, you should buy things that you do like. Why would you wear something that you don't like? And I was like, well, maybe you don't have that choice. So I do really like bespoke design. I have done bridal design, because that is so fun.
That must be so rewarding, bridal design. Like just
I love it.
To be such a big part of somebody's life and that memorable moment.
Yeah, and I think I've only lost one bride who got divorced out of 7.
Okay.
So I'm like,
your ratio's good. Your ratio is good. And I'm sure she still loved the dress.
Yes, she does. She messaged actually recently, so she's happy.
She's good. She's good. Dress or husband. Dress or husband. So your love for fashion obviously shines through. I want to talk about what led you to create Unhidden.
Yeah.
Because it's so shocking to me that there was such a gap in the market for a brand like this. And I don't know if it feels so overlooked, and it feels like, which I hate.
Yes.
That actually that we're like, oh my God, of course that needs to
exist. But that's the thing, no one does until they're in it. I was the same, you know. It wasn't, you know, what happened whilst I was a garment tech by this time, but I'd been unwell probably forever. And it turns out now I'm celiac, so I think that's been a lot of it, but it was undiagnosed.
Right.
But yeah, I had a stomach ulcer that was undiagnosed that burst and had life-saving surgery. And then after that, I've had various bits of me removed and rewired, and there's a bit of bowel removal in the not too distant future. but I was in hospital with somebody and she just said, I can't dress how I want to. And, you know, she'd gone through cancer, she'd survived it, but she had 2 stomas and a line in her arm, and she was being fitted a chest port.
Gosh.
And I just thought, oh, yeah. And then I thought, you know, I'd had a birthday, I'd had to leave early because I wore a jumpsuit, but I'd recently had surgery and it went over a scar and it was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I thought, I didn't even think for myself, like, I shouldn't wear something for, like, the clothes should fit me, not me trying to fit into the clothes.
Yeah.
And I had my laptop with me, so I started looking and just thought it was all very medical. There wasn't a lot out there. I mean, Unhidden isn't the first adaptive brand by a long way. I think what I brought to the table is I worked in fashion and as a garment technologist in particular. So, like, I literally helped develop clothes for mass production. So I can kind of see and understand what you can and can't do with a garment.
Yes.
Which I think has been really helpful.
Which gives you a completely different outlook, and also just understanding from all areas, right?
Yeah.
Having been in the position where you needed clothes to fit you a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, you're not just trying to cash in on a space that is
No, and
that
I think
isn't
so many people are
saturated.
worried about it. I'm like, cash in, we still need the clothes. You know, I'm at the point now where
And that's
I
so
don't
interesting. So would
mind.
that be your outlook? Because I always wonder that, because there's also a similar conversation in terms of race, and you know, and I've been a part of that, and somebody, you know, there's been comments in the past that, you know, it's like tokenism and you get this,
Yeah.
and I'm like, do you know what, the more diverse faces that we see on TV, to me, is a bonus. So I'm like, if I have,
Exactly.
you know, if there's a job, and that's my sort of feeling
Yeah.
behind it, and I know that everybody has a different opinion, but I
Yeah.
find that interesting that you would say that.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, don't get me wrong. Ideally, bring us into the room. The best design is when we're in the room with you when you're developing
be
things.
considered.
But at least if we get into the door, even if they just do it once, it might make somebody else think to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to do it, even if it's a once-off, than not do it at all. But obviously, ideally, everyone would be doing it anyway. And obviously, the disabled community is growing because everyone's living older, so like age-related disability. As more conflicts happen, that usually, you know, I mean, COVID was a mass disabling event. And I've spoken to so many people now who, you know, they can access, I mean, I'm actually wearing an Unhidden outfit today, but they can get hooked up to their machines without having to take their clothes off, which was a lot of the design thought behind Unhidden anyway. But it's 1 in 4 people. It's, you know, I think on a certain TV show, a certain dragon said it's very niche. I was like, I don't think 1 in 4 is niche. I think it's quite a lot of people.
When we're talking number, we're talking data, I don't think it's as niche as
And
you
it's
think.
also you think about, you know, temporary disability, like if you've broken a leg or an arm, but you've still got to go to that job meeting, or
Yeah.
you've still got to go for an interview or do a presentation, or,
Yeah.
you know, go to a wedding. I mean, I think there's so many areas that it touches, and people just sort of, you know, once it's designed for everybody, then whether you need it or not, at least it's there.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what I consider to be universal design. Whereas
Yes.
adaptive, I think, is a lot more specific. So adaptive to me is things that are like for wheelchair users. So like the trousers are longer at the back, so they're not dipping down. They're literally shaped for a seated position. It's that simple. But everything, all the trousers have like loops inside, so that if you're not dressing yourself, somebody else doesn't have to touch your skin. But they can also pull them up for you. Or if you can't do this, you can do that. It's a really simple things.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's so, if you can create something that everybody can be a part of, there's no niche. There's no kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, this is kind of, you know, there's a ceiling on this.
No,
This is where it
exactly.
goes. There's no niche at all. If you
Yeah.
can make a garment that everybody can wear,
Yeah.
then surely you're ticking every box
Exactly.
naturally.
I mean, like Alexa was developed for people who are blind. We all use it. That's what it was
All my
developed
kids do
for.
is shout Alexa at the top of their lungs.
My brother's actually started saying computer because the kids were saying Alexa too much.
That's so fair.
But he's like, but I'm working computers, so
Yeah.
it's difficult for him now.
There's a little girl in my daughter's class that's called Alexa, but she's now
Oh.
calls herself Lexi, because I think she's just done. She's done with people screaming her name.
Yeah.
I want to. So that first kind of light bulb moment for you was you having life-changing surgery, I suppose, meeting and talking to people in that environment, having a lived-in experience of your own that I suppose really changed the way that you saw fashion and,
Yes.
you know, influenced your outlook on it. What was the first move that you made into bringing this to life? Because obviously you'd studied in the space that you were studying, you went on and you were in that garment space. But
Yeah.
what was that light bulb moment that you thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do for me. This is the time to develop my own brand?
Well, I started with a trouser design, and then I had two friends, one of whom was a doctor. We kind of all said 3 heads better than one sort of thing. It didn't work out in the end, but they're amazing people. And we were trying to do scrubs as well, and I tried to update hospital gowns because for me, all my surgeries have been on the front, but they do up on the back, so they either have to lift them up or pull them down.
Of course.
And I was on a ward once with someone who was Muslim, and I really felt for her because she also was having abdominal surgery. I was like, well, where's the dignity in this? I'm like, really? We can't just something that opens at the front?
Yeah.
Surely?
Yeah.
But it turns out it's very expensive for the NHS to change these things. It turns out they also just rent the gowns. They don't actually own them. And then they just use a laundry service. I mean, for bariatrics, all they do is they staple 2 gowns together for people who don't fit into a standard one, which I think
this is all just mind-blowing
information. Just think all the stuff that I have to learn over the years.
Yeah.
So I started there.
With that in mind.
Yeah, and then we developed some samples with a factory that I still work with. And then that was while I was still freelancing, and then COVID hit, and I thought, okay, well, everything else has sort of slowed down a bit, so why don't I try a bit harder? And I came up with 5 men's and 5 women's pieces. I mean, I had so many different bits of advice from people saying, just do one thing and just do one gender. And I was like, well, menswear is underserved anyway, and I can't do one and ignore everyone else. Especially because I'd spoken to so many men. So I had a tiny little 10-piece range, and I had a photo shoot in that 2-week period in September 2020 when you were allowed
when we were allowed back out.
But that was actually the first time. I didn't tell them what they were doing a shoot for, and I just found them on Instagram. I'm still friends with some of them. Some of them have gone on to work with other brands. It's been amazing to watch them all do things. But that was the first time I'd actually sat in a room with other people that had one of them had the same doctor as me.
Wow.
But with people my own age talking about fashion, we weren't there talking about being ill, and we weren't in a hospital waiting room. So it was it was an amazing moment. And one of the women just said, I haven't been able to wear a dress for 10 years.
Wow.
So,
and in those moments, that's where you sort of must just take stock and think, this is the whole point.
Yeah.
This is the why.
Yeah.
So you find, I mean, your why obviously is a bit of a kind of epiphany, and it then I suppose just unravels,
Yes,
right? You're pulling a thread and you're like, okay, this makes sense. In terms of the business side, was that, what was trickier for you? Was it creating, I mean, garments are your world.
Yeah, the garments bit was the easy bit.
Yeah.
For sure. I think production, I knew that was going to be difficult with no finances and no backing. So initially I did launch as made to order, which was too expensive, but it was worth, a try.
I suppose for you to test the market and know the demand.
Yes, and also just to reach people, because it is really hard to reach people. And I mean, no one that I worked with in fashion sort of responded or had anything to do, and they still don't with anything that I've done with Unhidden, apart from my university, who have been amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the hardest thing was actually getting people to listen and to find people. And, for me, as someone who was freelancing and then COVID hit, I had no savings, I had no income. So a lot of it was you have to do everything. But throughout COVID, I ran online art classes to test out Etsy and Shopify. I made masks with the same view to sort of test out how to run an Instagram account, how to sell, how to market, how to get PR. I did do a paid PR course in, I think, 2021.
Amazing.
Because I was like, that's the way I'm going to do it. I can't afford to run ads all the time, and the ads don't work, and will probably come and have me have a rant about digital ableism. But so that was, I think the trickiest bit has been getting the industry to listen. And we're getting there.
Because you can, and we discuss this a lot on this podcast, you can create and you can, have created the best product in the world, but if people don't know about it, it's not going to land. And it's such a kind of overlooked piece of work on everybody's business plan.
Yeah.
Because actually it's so, PR and marketing is so, so important, because that is how people are going to know about it, which will then lead on to a potential sale.
Yes, exactly. Especially when it's free PR, so learning how to pitch. And there are some amazing Facebook groups that, journalists are in, and that's how I absolutely started. And people, start to build a thing and people remember and they come back. And, there are other adaptive designers. We were all in it together, sort of all trying to do the same thing at the same time. And we've all got to bring something different to the table. Yeah. So we still all support each other now. But it's interesting. I mean, I don't know who at the BBC, someone's got my mobile number and is just giving it to everyone. I'll get a phone call like, how do you have my number? But
can you help
I've
me?
been on the BBC so many different times, so many different ways, but it always is if it's the first time they've heard of what I do. I'm like, are you all not talking to each other?
Yeah.
It's really interesting, like, you can have the same article with one publication and then another publication will ask the exact same questions. Like, well, I've said it. And you realise you have to, that's how much you have to deliver the same message over and over and over again.
And to you, it can feel repetitive. And I always say this in terms of like putting yourself out there and reaching out to people and trying to put yourself into a space. To you, you'll feel like, I've already done that, or I did send them a message, but you kind of just have to be so relentless with it.
Yes.
And keep going until it eventually lands.
Yeah.
And you're like, and I feel you. And I however many years, I'm in like showbiz years, if it's anything like dog and cat years, I'm like dead. But I feel like I have said the same message for years, and I'll do the same interview, and I could predict the interview before I've started, and I don't mind, and I'm not mad at it. I'm kind of
just like,
the journalist might be new, and you see people that are now like editors that were young journalists at the time, and now the young, but we're still asking the same questions, because I think there's that science, isn't there, in that kind of repetitive behaviour.
Someone has to see something like 200 times before a consumer will buy something.
Exactly.
You're
that.
Like, oof,
or before they know something, they have to sort of have read it 7 times, and you're hoping that one article that person will then read. So it's kind of that repetitive behaviour.
Yeah.
But that is a learning curve, isn't it?
It is.
And how were you in terms of like the numbers and the finances and the
well,
they
weren't
the same face as me.
Yeah. Well, they weren't super for ages. It took a really long time. I mean, we had kind of fairly consistent sales, but it weren't very much. It certainly wasn't enough to fund anything really. So it kind of all changed after I went on Dragon's Den. Then other investors came along. I'm hugely grateful to them. And then I could buy stock. So then I could bring the price down, but I also had something people could buy and right away, rather than order and then 2 months later they would get something.
Of course. And like, we should, if anyone's listening that kind of doesn't understand that, basically the MOQs, which is a minimum order quantity, they kind of vary. So the bigger the MOQ, the cheaper you're actually getting it per unit.
Yes.
But obviously to place that order, you need the cash flow
Yes.
to be able to press go on that.
Yeah.
Which
and some factories, like, they'll only take you if you hit a certain number, and then some that has to be low, because if you go too high, they can't do it.
Absolutely that.
And then some of them want money up front. Some will do it on delivery, like half and half. And then there's all the shipping. And
so you kind of need that like accessible cash to be able to place those orders, which is why doing a kind of pre-order scheme at the start, when you're trying to find your feet and sort of test the appetite, is a smart move, because you're only placing an order based on what you know that you've already sold.
Exactly.
So it kind of it does help, doesn't it? But getting that investment or having those funds to be able to place those big orders, they just make sense for your margins and how the whole business plan can then evolve and come to life.
Exactly. And I think, especially when investors don't like to buy stock, I'm like, well, we're a product-based business. If we don't have any product, how are we going to sell anything?
Correct.
But and they also don't like you to pay yourself, which is tricky. Very tricky.
I'm putting my life into this, so I do need to earn something.
And like living on your own in London is not a cheap thing to do. So and I'm trying. So I obviously initially with Unhidden, I was doing other bits of work, and I still do, like paid speaking and things, because you still have to. I do have a salary now though, because Unhidden did get acquired last year.
Incredible.
So now I have a salary, which is incredible, and that does really help, and the numbers are vastly improving.
So let's talk about Dragon's Den for a moment, because like you say, that was a time where you kind of went on a lot of people's radar. Like you say, you've been kind of beating the drum and doing your thing, but that kind of, well, we know it's a big TV show, mass exposure. A lot of people learned about your experience. Nobody invested. No. Which shocked me, by the way.
Well, they've actually never invested in a female disabled founder to date. And I know 3 others that have been on that show that didn't get investment either. But I'm not meant to criticise Dragon's Den too much.
No, it's not. It's just that's just a factual
it's just a stat. They have not.
It's not a criticism. What then happens from there? Because, like you say, you then received investment off of the back of that. So how did that look and how did it work? Were you quite deflated after not getting what you thought?
Well, yes. Well, I did burst into tears afterwards because I just felt I'd let the community down. I was like, this is such a chance, and I didn't get it. But I think that was, they aired it a year later. So I was in a different place when they finally aired it. I still didn't have stock, but I did have a small amount of stock. But yeah, I was in such a different place that when they air it, you're like, oh, all these things I've said now, they've changed.
Yes.
So it was interesting. They actually re-aired it this year. And we still have people coming and thinking that it was the first time. And I'm like, no, that was years ago.
Yes.
Because we filmed it in 2022.
Yeah.
So
that's TV for you.
Yes.
And
yeah,
if it's a good episode,
ages.
It will always get repeated if it's a good episode.
They were very kind. But yeah, I did feel a bit deflated, but I was like, it was still a good opportunity. And you never know what's going to come from it. It's all a bit of a blur, actually, what I got up to in that last year. And then I did my first show. So I think that was 2023.
So your kind of life had changed. And like you say, that you kind of, those things happen, you brush yourself off, you go again, right?
Yeah.
And you're still kind of, the mission doesn't change, right?
No.
Dragon's Den didn't work out, but the mission doesn't change. And then when it finally airs a year later, and then there's all this kind of instant exposure.
It's so overwhelming.
Yes.
What happens is, you get so many messages that are really encouraging, but there were so many saying, I wish this had existed when my grandmother was alive.
Wow.
Or, I wish I'd had this when I needed it and I didn't. Or, there were so many incidents, and I still get messages like that. And it does reinforce it a lot. There were some people that were sort of like, have you thought about X, Y, Z in terms of design? I'm like, yes, but I can't do everything all at the same time. Shoes is a big one. Yeah. There's only 6 adaptive shoe brands in the world. Wow. So shoes are firmly on my, something I really want to do.
Yes.
But yeah, everyone had an opinion on something. They're like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. I'm like, these are all things I have thought of. Yes. Just, you have to have resources. A lot of the things people were suggesting, I'm like, well, if I had an endless pocket of money, great.
I'd be trying everything. Yeah. Of course.
But, you can't be all things to all people. And I think that was one of the biggest learnings. I think I did enough. I think the 10 garments, I stand by them. They covered enough disabilities to start with.
10 garments as a start with no funding and, cash flow is an incredible thing to achieve. So how quickly, off of the back of it airing and investors approaching you, how quick was that?
That was really quick. That was, I think we were all done by, actually no, it was the following year. It was June the following year when we got acquired. So I think the process to get everyone on board was quite long. But I think we placed an order and were selling of June of that year, of 2023, when it aired.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So amazing. And like you say, when you're put on that big stage, of course you're going to sort of be acquired, but also acquire everyone's kind of input and stuff, which is quite overwhelming when you've been like beavering away at this.
Yeah, but that was after I did, because before Dragon's Den aired, this is what I was doing. I was pitching and just walking into like angel investor rooms, either with my stick. I learned not to take my stick because if I did that, shut down immediately. But even just talking about disability, I could just see them all be like, it's not for me. Or they wanted to know numbers and they wanted to know data. I'm like, there isn't any. I can't give you sales data because we don't have enough people doing this at scale to tell you. I'm like, I can tell you how many of us there are, and it's a lot. And we can, if we include elderly, it's even more. If you include temporary disability, it's even more.
Yeah.
But, I can't come to you and say I'm going to sell X amount in, you're going to get an ROI immediately because this hasn't been done.
And that is what must be so tough when you're trying to take on investment and trying to sort of get people to understand the vision.
Yeah.
And because it's which shouldn't happen, but it clearly becomes that thing that unless it's a lived experience,
that's the thing.
People is just sort of and it goes back to the same saying that we use a lot when we say you can't be
what you don't
see, right? And I think if it's not relevant to that person, it's quickly overlooked.
Yes. Yeah.
Which doesn't make the fight any easier.
No. That's the thing I ended up having to tell my medical history to complete strangers to convince them, one, why I'm interested in it anyway, because I know I appear non-apparently disabled, and then two, to get them to understand why I care about it. But it's
exhausting.
It is exhausting, especially when I just want to come and get you to invest in my business.
Yes.
This is the size of the market. Here's a product. Let's go.
Yeah. But it's triggering.
And you
Having to
you can't
relive
do
your
any of that.
experience, and
Yeah,
it
over
isn't,
and over
you know,
again.
it's triggering. But I mean, by doing so, well, you've changed your own life, and you've changed the life of so many. And I can only imagine how rewarding that must be. And of course, it's been a fight to
and
get
by
this
no
off
means
the
over
ground.
either.
Yeah,
But
and of course, and it won't be over, right? It's going to be something that you keep.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't think, I was quite, I don't know, negative about the potential. I never believed I'd see it on the high street in my lifetime when I first started. And it turns out actually Primark did see the Dragon's Den pitch. So that's kind of how that came about. So it was, again, like worth doing for people realising who you are.
Absolutely that.
But yeah, I never thought I'd see it on the high street in my lifetime. When I started Unhidden, I didn't think I'd be doing shows. I just wanted to make clothes and sell them to people. That was kind of the plan. And then it's turned into this whole mission and advocating and doing all sorts of things. Like being here is something, you know, if you'd have told me this 5 years ago, I'd be like, take me silly.
But it's a story that should be here. It's a story that should be everywhere because it's important. It's so important. You touched on fashion shows. This is on my notes. It just popped up. Unhidden is now officially part of London Fashion Week's main schedule.
Main day schedule for the first time.
Thank you very much. As it absolutely should be. Like, what do these kind of moments mean to you as a founder?
They always just feel quite surreal. I think the problem, what I'm trying to change actually is because, you know, you build up to these, you do these things, and then it's on to the next thing.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about this one because I'm doing something very different, which I can't talk about. Okay. But it's not going to be a traditional runway, is what I will say.
Well, we will await with bated breath to see everything play out.
But I think that first one, I mean, as any designer will tell you, you're backstage. You don't get to actually see the show. So I sat and watched the rehearsals and cried every time. And then for the actual show, I was there counting them down, being like, now you go. And I was like, okay. And then coming out and trying not to cry. And I looked over, my mum was in tears.
Oh, gosh.
My older brother was crying. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, sorry, Ian, for saying that.
No one saw him.
No one saw. But yeah, it was quite it's a really powerful moment. I think, you know, I had 29 disabled models of, you know, intersectionality of age, race, sexuality, gender, size, you know, and 29 models. If I can do that, I kind of don't see why anyone can't. It does mean more planning. It's not like I could cast people the night before because I have to choose, you know, the garment has to fit the access needs.
Of course.
So, you know, it's, you know, we have to cast really, really early. But then you get to know the models because you're in conversation with them ahead of time. So it's like building a little community now. So it's really good.
But like you say, if you know that you can do this, and if those big like machine brands can't plan to that level, there's something missing here, right?
Yeah.
I know that you've partnered with Primark, and you just touched on that a minute ago on their adaptive collection. I'd imagine when the birth of Unhidden and then sort of this then really becoming your mission, to be noticed by such a household sort of juggernaut that is Primark. I mean that must be a real pinch me moment, but also the importance of having that affordability and accessibility on the high street is. And you know, credit to Primark and the way that they have completely sort of embraced. And I've seen the events and I've sort of seen that all play out, and it's so incredible. And I know the planning of how that looks. Yeah. But it also, I'm sure, for a company like that, has played into how they will host events in the future, and not just for the adaptive collection, but actually really thinking about how they handle that as a business.
Well, even their staff training, even their store managers, you know, everyone from the top down, everyone has, it's informed how they work in other areas of the business now, which is incredible. I mean, that first meeting with them, they had photos of my runway show in their deck, and I was sat there like, what's happening? I didn't even realise they were pitching at me to work with them.
Wow.
I thought they were going to ask me to consult or something. I didn't really quite understand what the ask was. And my PA was like, they're pitching at you. I'm like,
I've got it.
Oh my gosh.
They were just showing me videos of myself.
But yeah, no, they've been incredible to work with. And again, to see some of the models that I've, you know, Moeed was in my first photo shoot and he was in the campaign shoot for Primark.
Incredible.
And just hearing him sort of talking to somebody in the background, because he doesn't normally show his stoma. And he was like, no, I'm going to get it out. And I was like, don't cry on my makeup that's still being applied, because, you know, it's just, we've all gone on this journey together. And yeah, I think the affordability thing is such an issue, or obviously a topic of discussion, because the disabled community are 50% more likely to live in poverty, and you look at what's happening right now with policies and things, it's just getting harder. So that affordability thing was really important, and small independent brands are going to struggle because we're not ordering in the thousands.
Of course.
Yet, so that is part of it, and I really liked what they did, because we took their bestsellers and made them adaptive. So we knew it was things they were already going to sell, because they already sell them.
Yes.
And they made a commitment that they would cost the same as the non-adaptive versions. I think there's only two, and I think it was the coats that were £2 more. Otherwise not. But I mean, initially, I used to say when I first brought out Unhidden, if Primark ever do it, I'll be out of business. And it's not true, because what's actually happened is it's made other retailers realise it is a space. All the other adaptive designers that exist now, we're all getting noticed, and we're all being invited into the room more.
Yeah, which is just incredible. And as I say, like, all credit to them to, not sort of know that there's a need, know that there's a gap, but not take it and run with it, include you and involve the community and have it sort of articulated in the way that it should be.
Exactly. They worked with so many different disabled voices on the marketing, tone of voice, language, the photo shoot. I mean, Esme Moore was the photographer. She has cerebral palsy. They just everywhere there could be someone with a disability to give input, they had them. We did focus groups on all the product before. They didn't. I don't think they knew where it was coming from. They just got to see him and give feedback before we released anything. But they went from 4 pieces of lingerie to a 49-piece collection in a year.
Wow.
And that's, and their commitment is they're never not going to have adaptive. They will always have adaptive now.
Done incredibly well. It's done incredibly
really well.
We actually tried to get some for you filming today, and it was sold out.
That's good. Bad and good, but it is being restocked soon. So,
we know it's performing incredibly well. Yeah. And I want to talk about Sewing Bee, because this is quite a big moment, isn't it? Tell me everything. How did it come about?
Again, I think that it's one of those, because I was on a TV show called Unique Boutique, and it was a 4-part series. And I remember them reaching out and me being really excited. And initially it was just to help consult. And then they sort of said, would you be up for a VT? So I had to go and do like a little audition. And I had to go through a garment and sort of say what was wrong with it, but I just sort of went garment tech and destroyed it. And they were like, no, imagine the person who sewed it is stood here. I'm like, oh yeah, I wouldn't say it like that. So I wouldn't say it like that at all. And they film it so far in advance, but and obviously I can't say very much about it, but it's a really good episode. And filming that, I think, was another one of those. My heels, I was wearing really big heels, and the floor was slightly uneven, so I was like juddering, stood there like, oh god. And you go out and meet them, you're like in this iconic room, and that
is a pinch me, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was like sending photos to my mum, being like...
And also it's very... When something is kind of so sort of a bit of a national treasure and a little bit, at one of those iconic shows, it's always like, wow, they've actually... That's where a little bit of imposter syndrome comes out.
Definitely,
from time to time.
You kind of sit there and you're like...
Asked me, are they sure? Who couldn't do this?
Yeah, like who turned it down first? Yeah, and it was really cold in there as well. I remember being quite cold, and because it's quite a long day of filming, but my PA got like this shot, like I'm all glamorous, and then I wasn't feeling great, so then I'm like... zonked out asleep, and she took a photo just to be like, this is the reality.
It's versus reality.
Because I was exhausted by the end of that day. I don't know how they all do it.
Those days in telly are like relentless, aren't they? They just don't stop. That's why I like live TV.
Yeah, live TV, you're in, you're out.
You finish when it finishes. You can't. No one can run over here.
Yeah, it is fun seeing it all work and seeing how it comes together. Unique Boutique was, that was 5 weeks of filming. So it was a lot, but we had weekends off. But it was amazing.
Yeah, but an intense period.
Yeah. But it's fun, and you have these conversations, and you see it affecting the crew around you as well. And it's that ripple effect of you never know what you've said in front of someone that you maybe don't speak to, that then it goes out and they'll take it up as their mission and make a difference.
Exactly, and then there are those moments that like you really know that it's landed.
Yeah.
Since you have been acquired and you feel, I suppose, that you've got that support and that kind of means to be able to keep doing what you're doing, because that's what's tough. There's this mission that's in place now.
Yeah, and I don't have to wear all the hats now, which is great, because that's tiring. Like being postal delivery, packing and wrapping, marketing, social media, and social media is an absolute beast. Like creating it and then disseminating it, that's 2 jobs, and then that's just per channel.
Yes.
So you have to, website design, coding. I mean, I remember being really proud of myself for being able to code in like a countdown timer. It took me hours.
Incredible.
And then I thought, I don't need to be doing this.
No.
I can get Fiverr. Just go. Somebody else can do this, and it take them 5 minutes.
Yeah,
so,
exactly that.
Yeah, so you get time back. But then I just find my time is pulled in other ways now. But
it's where it should be.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we always say, right, that the CEO is the least sexiest role, because at the start you do everything.
Yeah.
It's not the glamour that people...
No, that's when people love the photo shoot. I'm like, that's like 5 minutes out of an entire year,
yes,
maybe.
Exactly. And that's the bit you see.
Yeah.
So now you are in that position that you've got, like you say, you don't have to wear as many hats, which means that you can pour your time into what you should be doing, right? And what will better the brand. What's your goal? What's on your vision board? Where do you want to be?
So many things. So other partnerships with brands, I think actually we found that's a really good way for them to sort of tap into the community, but with credibility of someone who's already doing it.
Yes.
And then using their reach, because reach is really hard. I still want to have a standalone store one day, or stores.
Incredible.
And just have, everyone, all the staff medically trained, have changing places, changing rooms, and have more than one. And sort of build like a community into it, like people can come and sit and hang out and sell other products,
Yes.
other brands that are adaptive or disabled owned, and sort of have that space. I'd really love to do that. I do really want to do costume, and I really, really want to dress all the Paralympians.
Wow.
All of them.
That would
I mean, any country. Obviously Great Britain would be great.
Yes.
But I mean, in the Paralympics last year, out of 78 countries, one was wearing adaptive.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, and Adidas, who are the sponsor for the Paralympians, they do have adaptive products now. I think they've got about 4. But a lot of the Paralympians have said to me, like, what they train in, they adapt because they can't buy it. But then what they compete in is not adapted. So then they lose time and they lose seconds.
And I suppose confidence.
Yeah.
Like, not, going into that's such a high pressure, and you need to feel so comfortable and so...
Yeah. And I met Matt Bush, who won gold in Taekwondo. He has a limb difference, and so he had to keep rolling the arm up to over there. I was like, they couldn't just cut that off and reattach the cuff.
They need you. We have to make this happen.
This is really obvious obviously it's obvious to me, but it's, in this day and age, even the Paralympians still don't get the clothes that they need.
Adidas, call you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes,
or
please.
like anyone. I'm not picky. I'll go to Canada. Oh, Canada was actually the team that had adaptive with Lululemon.
Okay.
But yeah, any country.
Yeah.
I'm not fussy.
Okay, well, we've put it out there. We've put it out there to the universe. I want to do our rocket round now. We ask the same questions to every guest. And the first one is, what do you believe are the non-negotiables for launching a business?
You have to believe in it. Like, if you don't believe in it, you can't sell it to somebody else.
And it's that simple.
Yeah.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
When did you first realise that you truly launched?
I think the first runway show, that felt sort of a validation of everything that I'd done.
I can imagine. I can only imagine. What's the first thing you do when you wake up and the last thing you do before you go to bed?
Gosh, overthink generally.
I'm
trying now to do breath work, because I do wake up every day, like, brain immediately on, thinking of everything, and I'm trying to be like, no, start the day a bit slower. Yeah. I try and think of 5 things that I'm grateful for every morning. And before bed, I put on like brown noise or thunderstorms. But I've started now, actually, I used to read before I go to bed, and now I don't read in my bed anymore. Bed is just for sleeping now.
Yeah, it's almost like knowing that, like, it's almost like going back to being a kid again,
Yeah.
isn't it? Where I'm like, you're not allowed a TV in your room.
Yeah,
you're not
no
allowed...
screen.
Like, it's, exactly that. But it's
Yeah.
all the things that are the hardest to give up as an adult, right?
Yeah. I do love a doom scroll.
Yeah, I know.
But I try not to do it immediately
Yeah.
on waking up. I might lie there for a bit and then...
I know, but it's hard. Sometimes I've started like plugging my phone in at the other side of the room, and I did
That's
that
a
for a
good
period
one,
of time,
yeah.
so that when my alarm goes off, I have to go
bed.
to it. But it means that I'm not like up in the night
Yeah.
looking. But the other day, I had like the long lead in it, and I was like hanging off the bed. I'm like, no, this is like this was all for a purpose, and now I'm just like laying horizontal off the bed with a long lead.
Yeah.
So I need to get better at that. What's one piece of advice that you wish you hadn't listened to?
Gosh, there was a lot. I think that I should just focus on the work and not promoting it. I think someone was like, just get that done and everything else will follow. I'm like, no, but no one knows I'm doing it. I'm not going to get all the other things that I need.
Yes.
Or to just not do it at all was some people's advice. They were like, ugh, does anyone need that? I literally, someone went, ugh. So.
Well, you didn't listen to
No,
it.
I didn't listen.
Absolutely. Screw them. What's a skill that you'd love to learn?
Oh, I mean, speak another language would be a good one.
Oh, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh.
I think actually, weirdly, video editing, I am
I'm with
not
you.
great at it.
I say this all the time.
Yeah.
But look at the team shaking their heads. They're like, don't do that, we'll be out of a job.
The thing I see these amazing videos, I'm like, I can film the bits, but putting it together and
Yeah.
making it make sense, awful.
Yeah.
And it's time consuming. I know you can, obviously everyone's using AI, which I don't generally if I can avoid it.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, I'm not very good at that, and I'd
No.
like to be, because I have amazing, I can film
You've got a
decently.
good eye,
like
but
it's just
yeah.
getting it all to look proper. Yeah,
Everyone
so
would be out of
that
a
would be
job.
really handy.
Yeah, it's true. I'd actually enjoy doing it.
Yeah, if I could just sit and that's all I had to do, I'd love to
Find
actually
it
work
quite
in social media. It'd be
therapeutic.
great.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not for me, because I wouldn't be as picky. So
It's so you can be a bit more far removed,
yeah,
can't
exactly.
you? What's one thing that you wish someone had told you before you started your business?
That it's going to be lonely.
Yeah.
I think you really realise, unless you've got friends that run a business, your friends can't really get on the same level with it. So now I do actually, I'm very lucky. I have some really close friends that are business owners. So we all have our own little subgroup where we can have a
Yes.
rant. But I think especially in what I'm doing, because there's not very many of us, you don't really have, there's not anyone you can go to for advice or how do I do this, because no one's done it before. So even business experts are like, it's not like I can say, how do I market this? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's really isolating.
Yeah.
It is.
And especially, I mean, in fashion in particular, to be doing what I do, there's not really anybody else, so they don't get it. So I don't tend to get invited to fashion events anyway, but if I am, I'm always there like, no one wants to talk to me, especially if I'm there with a stick. Oh, you can see the
just
like the
hate
fear,
that. I
I think.
hate that that's even a thing.
Yeah. Well, I did a panel talk once and I was sat, I had my stick and I was sat down before the other people sat down, and someone in the front row leant forward and went, no, that's for the speakers. And I was like, oh dear. She felt very embarrassed when I then went through all the things that I'm doing and what I do. And then she was like,
sometimes you just think, why? Like, what possessed you to... Yeah.
But that's the thing, like people just have no issue with telling disabled people what they should and shouldn't do. That's the other part.
Why do you think that is?
Well, we're infantilised a lot. People think there's maybe a learning disability combined with it. I think there's a lot of fear as well. That's generally why you get ignored, I think, and that's why it's isolating. People don't know how to, they're scared of offending you, so they just don't speak to you.
This happens with race. This happens with race too, right?
I mean, I can't say it's the same as race, but it's very similar. A lot of the behaviours are. I mean, to be fair, the biggest issue with disability advocacy is that it is racist. Like all the big people in this space are white. I get really angry about it.
Yeah, it's so like there is so much that has evolved over time, and like obviously there's still a lot of work to do, but the level of like unconscious bias that we see, and it's knowing the difference between that and racism, like it's so nuanced.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy that we haven't.
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, medical racism is a huge issue. Medical gaslighting is another one. But, you're more likely to have poorer health outcomes if you are anything other than white and disabled. So the groups, when you look at the intersection, like the biggest impacted group was always women, it was always black women, it was always black disabled women.
Particularly in the maternal space too.
Yeah.
Like I did a documentary on maternal mortality, and it's kind of...
Oh, gosh, it's awful.
And it's so stark, and it just...
Well, even Serena Williams went through, and Beyonce, like, goodness me, they were still treated that way.
Yeah. I mean, this is a whole other episode, and I could talk about this for hours. But it blows my mind that
still.
Yeah, it really does. And like I said, the conversation feels very familiar when you're talking about disability.
Yeah.
Well, we've kind of spoken about this, but let's see if there's another one. What would be the dream collab for your brand?
Oh, it's really tough because, fashion design to me is like, Gucci, Versace, something like that. But we don't really need brands like that to be doing adaptive. We need them to hire us, work with us and represent us, but we don't necessarily need $1,000 suit. So I think for them it's more representation. It's really hard. I think it's more in terms of, I mean, we've got Primark. There is another retailer in the offing that I can't mention, so they were a dream one, but it's kind of happening, which is very exciting.
We will wait
but I
and
think
see.
like come one come all, I don't think I could pick anyone. It's tough.
And what I love is that we are so in that era now for brands. It was all very kind of like standalone before, and now you are seeing just big powerhouse brands collab, and also big brands collaborating with the smaller ones too, which kind of it just feels a lot more united now, and that actually that it benefits everybody, which is quite a nice space to be in. If you could choose one female figure as a mentor, past or present, who would that be?
Karen Brady, I think would be fun.
Yeah.
Because, she's kind of no nonsense. She's really been through everything, and she looks incredible as well.
Oh my gosh, doesn't she just?
I saw photos, was like,
she's not aging. She's aging in reverse.
She's going backwards.
Yeah.
But I think I quite like, her little raised eyebrow, love.
Yeah, iconic.
Yeah, exactly. Just to be able to sort of give an opinion without actually saying anything.
Command a room with an eyebrow.
Amazing.
That's a talent. That's a talent right there.
Yeah.
And I ask every guest to leave a tip. And it's almost one piece of tangible advice to a listener, to a lady looking to launch. Perhaps someone in the space that you're in that thinks actually this is very, very lonely and has loved listening to your journey. But what would that be? A piece of advice for a lady looking to do something similar to you?
I think it is really important to have legal support. I think that's really important, something that I wish I'd done a bit better, because you will get into these rooms with these people and you don't know what you should or shouldn't agree to. So I think having an understanding and having someone that can support you that way is important. I think reaching out, I do, like I say, there is actually an inclusive WhatsApp group, and there's people in America in it, Canada, we do all speak. So I think it's reaching out and always asking.
Yeah.
I can't do as much publicly for people that are in the same space, but if I can make an introduction, I will. Obviously I can't give out email addresses, and I get asked to do that a lot. But I think, find your community, because everyone has something different that they're bringing to the adaptive space. We don't all dress the same, so we're not all designing the same. So I think you've got to be a bit fearless, but also you've got to really embrace what you are bringing.
Yes.
And therefore not be threatened by competition.
And put yourself out there.
Yeah, definitely put yourself out there.
It's true, because I think sometimes that fear of embarrassment that stops us from sending that message, or, stopping somebody if you're in an event and you know that person is there that you've kind of been idolizing and want to talk to, like, do it. The worst thing that can happen is they A, don't reply to the message, or B, haven't got time.
Yeah, and I do feel so bad when I don't reply to messages.
But it happens.
But sometimes it happens because there's so many, there's so many platforms.
Yes. But then one time you'll reach the right person that needed the message at that time. And
exactly.
I think that's the way life is. You've got to throw your hat in the ring to be a part of it. And then lastly, I like to end each episode. We speak about ladies who launch. And I'm very interested in ladies who lunch. So how do you spend your lunch hour? What's your favourite thing to eat, and where are you?
Gosh, I think in work-wise it's tricky because I have so many gastrointestinal things going on. So lunch for me is interesting. I think I love tapas.
Ooh.
That is my favourite.
Nice.
And I quite like fusion tapas. I've seen, sort of tacos that are tapas, because I do think tacos are, and Mexican food is quite tapasy.
Yeah.
Combination of those. I think that on a rooftop somewhere.
Oh, yes.
Even if it's cold, but they've got heaters and blankets.
Yes.
Yeah. And like trying a bit of everything, because that's the thing. You go to a restaurant, you order one thing, you only eat that one thing. So I like to try a bit of everybody else's. I don't always like to share, I will be honest. So I'm just like, no, that's all for me.
Yes,
but can I have some of yours?
All of that, thank you.
Yeah, if I can't finish it, and that's the thing, I never finish. I always have eyes bigger than my stomach.
It's like the definition of picky bits, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like just having a little graze and doing it all.
Yeah.
Always a winner.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I've loved this. It's been so good to hear all about your success, and everything you have built and are continuing to build at Unhidden is so, so inspiring. And
thank you.
I love that you've shared it with us, so thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Love that. Thank you. Don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcast to make sure that you don't miss out, because next time we're going to be joined by another incredible lady who launched. If, like me, you're a watcher, then follow us on YouTube, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.